enemy came up against your home. The enemy came up against your children. The enemy came up against your name. The enemy came up against your character. You will win, win. You will win, win. The enemy came up against your health. The enemy came up against your finances. The enemy came up against your vision. The enemy came up against your business. You will win. Oh, you will win. Yes, you will.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is Friday, right? Thank God it's Friday. And so on this morning, we certainly thank the Lord for each of you on this morning. Good morning. Thank you all so much for tuning in with me on today. I am Dr. Corrine Johnson. God bless each of you. Thank you all so much for pressing your way up to get on here to hear what the Lord wants to impart into us on this morning. And so as you all are coming in, go ahead on and say good morning so that I will know that you are here. And as you are saying good morning, also go ahead on and like, tag, and share the video with some other people that you believe that need to hear this word. And so on this morning, and good morning to you all that are watching from YouTube and TikTok, and to you all that will watch the replay much later on. Good morning, or whatever time of the day that you all watch the replay. Greetings to you. And so on this morning, we honor God as always. We thank God for allowing us another opportunity just to be here. And so on today, we are going to be continuing on in our series entitled Leave the Past Behind. And I'm thinking that we're going to finish up on next week. I'm not for sure, but however, we'll see how the Spirit of the Lord leads us. But on today, we are going to be focusing in on something that is very necessary if you're going to leave the past behind and press forward into the place where God is calling you. And so on this morning, we are going to be focusing in on the power of forgiveness. The power of forgiveness, because a lot of times we expect blessings to come our way, right? We expect happiness to come our way, but we will never really experience or reach that place of blessing or that place of happiness if we are bitter, if we are revengeful, if we're always focusing in on unmet needs. You're not going to get to that place of of being able to walk in the power of forgiveness, because you're going to be operating in that cycle of unforgiveness. And so we have to understand that when we sit every single day or however, and we just think about the things that was done to us, and we rehearse it in our minds over and over and over again, it makes us even more angry. It makes us more bitter. And so therefore we continue in that negative cycle. And so I'm going to put something up on the screen. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the blocks say unmet needs and disappointment. And then the more you focus in on the unmet needs and the disappointment, then you start focusing in on the offense, the hurt, the pain. Then you start focusing in on the anger. And the red area there is the bitterness and resentfulness, because that's the most dangerous area. And then you go on to revenge, guilt, and then right back around again to those unmet needs. And then what begins to take place is this becomes a cycle in the person's life. If we don't get to a particular place and say, okay, I'm tired of dealing with this emotional pain. I'm tired of dealing with this depression. I'm tired of dealing with the brokenness and the malice and the envy, the mistrust, the hate, all of those things. If we don't decide to say that I'm going to go in another direction, that cycle will continue on and on and on, and you become trapped in that cycle. And so the unmet need, it leaves a gap, and it takes you right back to the cycle of bitterness. So there are a lot of people that are trapped inside of this cycle of bitterness. And so when you're already trapped in a cycle of bitterness, if somebody else comes along and offends you, then you get another cycle going. The second cycle starts going on the inside. And then let's say, for instance, that you get 3, 4, 5 more people that come and they offend you, right? That's a cycle. Every time somebody offends you and you hold it on the inside, it begins another cycle. It begins another cycle, but there is a way out of this cycle, and forgiveness is going to be the only way to off-ramp from the cycle of bitterness. You cannot exit the cycle until you learn to forgive. If you don't authentically forgive, you're going to be in that cycle, going around and around every week, every month, every year. You're going to be in that same cycle. And so many of us, a lot of times we equate forgiveness with, I don't forgot about that. That's just something that happened, it was okay. It's no big deal. I don't forgot about that. That's not what forgiveness is about. And many of us claim that we have forgiven somebody for something, while in reality, we really have not. So what real forgiveness means is allowing yourself to be free from the resentment of having somebody done you wrong, to accept that, yes, something has occurred, and to believe that you deserve to move on from it. It is to declare your independence from, always meditating on how you can get revenge on another person. You got to stop dwelling on how to make people pay for what they did to you, because it's affecting your emotional wellness, because you're going to be so unstable. It is letting go. Forgiveness is letting go in its healthiest, truest sense. Forgiveness, understand, it does not minimize that there was a wrong that has been done. Forgiveness does not minimize the actions that were done against you. It just allows you to no longer be hurt by them. It allows you to begin the healing process. So forgiveness is associated with reduced depression. When you choose to forgive, you're not so stressed out. You're not hostile. You have an improved self-esteem. And even your physical health is going to be better when you choose to forgive. So when you look at the benefits to forgiveness, you're going to see that it's about being kind to your own self. You're not doing somebody else a favor. You're doing your own self a favor by walking in forgiveness, because forgiveness, that's the key to your way out. That's the key to your way out. When we look in at the scripture, when we say the Lord's Prayer, right? And we say this prayer and we really don't even think about it. You know, in Matthew chapter 6, verse 9 through 12, it says, forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors. And so that is letting us know that as we're asking our Abba Father to forgive us of our debts, we got to be willing to release those people that have hurt us as well. And so the thing that causes hurt to develop into bitterness is failing to respond to the help God can give at the time of being hurt. And so forgiveness doesn't mean pretending that you aren't hurt. That's not what forgiveness is, but allowing God to deal with the hurt that you know that's still there. So forgiveness is the only way out of the cycle of bitterness. You'll probably get the chance to choose forgiveness over bitterness every day. And so this is not a one and done sort of thing. You know, it's not wrong to be hurt. It's not wrong for you to feel the feelings that's associated with the hurt. But the way you deal with your hurt makes all the difference in the world. So being hurt is a big enough problem, right? But if that hurt is not handled in the right way, bitterness is going to start to set in. And in the end, it is bitterness, not being hurt, that's going to destroy you. You being hurt not going to destroy you. Because the fact that you know that you're hurt, that means that you know that that's an opportunity for you to lay that thing on the altar and for you and God to begin to do a work on the inside of you. But when you start letting it, you just act like, oh, I'm not hurt. I've been let that go, girl. I let that thing go. I let it go. But you still hurt. You still hurt, but you pretending like you not hurt. And now, since you pretending like you not hurt, that's when that bitterness sets in. That's the thing that's going to destroy you. The bitterness, the resentfulness, all that stuff destroys. And so no matter where you are in the cycle of bitterness, there is always a way out. And so forgiveness is the only off-ramp that's going to get you out of this cycle. Remember, it does not matter how heavy the glass is. It don't matter. What matters is how long you are carrying it. Because the longer you keep it, the more tired and the more numb you're going to be. Remember, I gave you the example of the glass of water. And what was on the inside of that glass was bitterness and resentfulness. The water represented the bitterness and all of the stuff that was on the inside of that glass. And I challenge you, instead of carrying the glass, because if you got your arm stretched out like this and you're carrying that glass everywhere you go, don't you know your arm is going to eventually become numb? Don't you know your arm is going to get tired? So instead of continuing to carry the glass around, why don't you just sit it down on the table and say, you know what, my arm done got numb. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of carrying this glass. I'm gonna put this down. I'm gonna put the glass down. Or if you can't put it down, at least pour some of the stuff out of it. At least empty some of the Because the longer you carry it, the heavier it's going to become. And the more tired and numb you're going to be. And so the day you decide that I'm going to put this glass down, that's the day that your arm is going to rest. And so unforgiveness will hold you back as a parachute hooked behind a jet. Unforgiveness is like someone pulling you back while you're trying to move forward. You're trying to move forward and something keeps snatching you back. You moving forward and something snatching you back. That's what unforgiveness is. That's what unforgiveness is. And so what you got to begin to do is you got to unpack the filing cabinet of your mind. You got to unpack it, because in bitterness, you focus on what, that horrible person has done to me. You keeping a mental filing cabinet full of everything that they've ever done, everything that they've ever said to hurt you. You got a mental filing cabinet, right? And so one cause of persistent bitterness is that we try to balance out the guilt and blame. And I have heard people say statements like, I'm wrong, but they're worse. Or I have a good reason to be bitter. You have no idea what they did to me. No, I don't. But I'm telling you this morning that if you're going to move forward, you're going to have to empty out that filing cabinet of your mind, because sometimes holding on to anger and bitterness is a form of revenge. Because bitter people with vengeance speak statements like, I'll show you and you're going to be sorry when I do. They forget that the only person who gets hurt is the bitter person who chooses to continue to dwell on it. And so we inevitably become more and more like the things we focus our attention on. So if we're not careful, you may become like the person that you hate. So to someone mean and hateful to you, you may probably become mean and hateful to them. So if you focus on the hurt, you may continue to relive the experience over and over, which is going to keep you going around and around that circle, in that cycle, right? And you're going to be like thinking, to yourself, like, oh man, I should have said this. The problem is that you can't be alone with your thoughts without thinking on them, right? So one thing you must do if you're going to let go of bitterness is learning to forgive consistently without conditions. Most of us think that forgiving someone excuses the person in the wrong. It does not let them off the hook. That's not what it does. But that is not necessarily the case. A lot of times we think that, if I forgive them, that gonna make them think that they ain't done nothing, that, I ain't over here hurt. No, that's not necessarily the case. It simply means that we are expelling their actions from our minds so that they no longer plague us on a day-to-day basis. And so by forgiving, you are choosing to let go of those past events. Forgiveness is not a feeling, it is a decision. So a lot of times, right, we may not feel like forgiving folks, okay? But if you keep on doing right, you do the right thing despite of your feelings, the right results are always going to follow. And so healing is a process. It may not take place at the same time that you choose to forgive. And sometimes it is a long journey that may need your patience. You may have to be patient, and you may have to be consistent in your faith. They may not deserve it, and you may not know how to do it, but that's okay, right? Take your time, because forgiveness is a great psychological release. When we work on forgiveness, it's going to lower your stress. It's going to lower your anxiety. Your immune system is even going to be strengthened when you choose to forgive. It's going to increase your self-esteem. It's going to lower your blood pressure, and it's going to improve your relationships when you choose to forgive. And so forgiving whoever has wronged you, there's benefits. When you do this for yourself, it's beneficial. But when you choose to say, you know what, I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to hold on to the grudges. Well, the only thing it's going to do is prevent you from growing and healing, so your resentment is just going to keep building over time. So on the other hand, forgiveness allows you to release your resentment and any other negative feelings that you've been holding on to. So it's not easy, right? But softening your heart towards the other person and letting go of that resentment is going to be the only way that you're going to be able to fully heal. And so in case, you cannot talk to the person for whatever reason, you can do something symbolic to mark the act of forgiveness, like writing the person a letter and tearing it up or either burning it, right? If possible, you might just send a message. You may just call, or meet and look at the person and think or say, you know what, I forgive you. I forgive you. So forgiveness isn't about retaining harmony in your relationship. Just because you forgive somebody, that don't mean that y'all gonna be buddy-buddy. That don't mean that you're gonna be my ace again because I forgive you. So forgiveness isn't about retaining harmony in the relationship. It's also about being kind to yourself. Forget about forgive and forget. Because forgiveness doesn't rely on forgetting another person's actions at all. Your mind will not forget what the person did. But you can decide to no longer punish them for that particular action. When you forgive, you strive to be good to the other person who wasn't even good to you. So as you try to be good to the other person, it's you, the forgiver, who is going to experience that emotional healing that you need as you release them and forgive. And so once again, forgiveness doesn't mean that you must keep the other person in your life. I have forgiven my ex-husband, but he ain't in my life. We have a great relationship, right? Forgiveness doesn't mean that you keep the other person in your life. My ex-husband, my son's father, he come to my house, right? As a matter of fact, we just recently had a get together. My son went off to the Marines. All of us gathered together at my house. He sat at the table right beside me and my husband. We talked, whatever. My husband was sitting somewhere and he was sitting right beside me. We were talking, laughing, having fun, right? We were not together. But however, forgiveness means that I don't let you go. I let it go. And I'm going to be real and authentic. I'm going to be nice, right? I'm going to be cordial. I'm going to show you the love of Jesus Christ. But that doesn't happen in all cases. Sometimes when people divorce, even though they forgive, no, you ain't coming to my house now. You ain't get ready to do that. And that's okay. Understand that that's okay. Everybody's forgiveness, being able to forgive and let go is not the same, right? So that may not happen for you. But however, forgiveness doesn't mean that you got to keep that person in your life. It don't mean that you got to restore, that you're going to restore the relationship. It's okay to let that toxic relationship go if the other person isn't willing to change and treat you the way that you deserve to be treated, right? So the thing that we have to understand about forgiveness also, and that is that we got to have a forgiving mindset. We got to have a forgiving mindset. Forgiveness is a mindset issue that we should develop in life. Not everybody has a forgiving mindset, but we need to develop one and decide on how we're going to respond before any type of offenses even take place. Because most of our life decisions are predetermined and conditioned. So we all have preconceived ideas about how we will respond to a situation before it happens. And so when it happens, we just implement what we've been thinking about in advance. It's like turning on indicators when you're driving. It's called reflux or either impulse, right? We do not think about it because it's automatic and involuntary. So we can translate that same mindset to forgiveness. We know that the people that we live with at some point is going to disappoint us, right? The question is, what plans? What plans or what predetermined decisions have we made and put in place so we're not taken by surprise and get stuck in that season of disappointment? So the first step to overcoming bitterness today, this morning, is forgiveness. And I'm here to tell you that forgiveness is a journey. And it may even be a little bit longer journey for some of us, right? But if you think about it, it was already taken considerable energy to dwell on unforgiveness, bitterness, and resentment. So there's more to forgiveness than just forgiving the things in the past or right now in the present. God wants us to be premeditated forgivers. Premeditated forgivers. That means our hearts are ready to forgive whenever the opportunity comes. So no matter what offense comes our way, we need to be armed with God's love, with God's grace, with God's mercy, and the power of forgiveness. We got to learn how to resist the enemy's snare to draw us into that trap of unforgiveness. Yeah, it's a snare of the enemy to draw us into bitterness and resentment. So we don't want to give the enemy an open door to lessen the blessings in our life, because that's all the enemy want to do. He want to make sure that you don't grab hold to the blessings that the Lord has for you. So we do not want the curse, because it is a curse. We do not want the curse of bitterness to interfere with our well-being or even destroy our relationships. And you definitely don't want it to rob your health, And so the power of forgiveness. Are you going to forgive? Or are you going to continue on in that cycle right there? Yeah. Your needs are not met. You're disappointed in what somebody did. So you marinating in the offense. You're marinating in the anger. You're marinating in the bitterness and the resentfulness. You're marinating in the revenge and the guilt, right? I'm here to tell you this morning, you better learn how to release it and let it go. Release it and let it go so that you will be able to move out of that cycle of bitterness. Because the longer you hold on to it, the more you're going to stay in that cycle. So forgiveness is the key to your way out. And so on this morning, I certainly thank each of you for tuning in and joining with me for the word. I know that you all probably have noticed that the last couple of mornings I have not prayed at the end of the word. And every now and again, the enemy will attack my voice, especially when we're on a series that we really need to hear. He'll start doing some things, right? But I already got my herbal tea ready and I've been drinking it, but I'm trying to savor my voice. I'm trying to savor my voice. And so that's why I haven't been praying the last couple of mornings at the end. But I want to challenge you that when we get off of here today, that you will begin to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, and just take that time to just simply pray on today. Because once again, I'm trying to savor my voice just a little bit, because I'm getting to the point to where I'm identifying when it's a strain on my voice. And so I try to cut back on just a little bit, because I don't want to be like I was probably about maybe a couple of months ago. I believe it was. I couldn't hardly even talk. And so we just thank God for the word on this morning, and I pray that you will take this word and that you will share it with somebody else. Tag somebody in it, share, send it as a text message, however you got to do it. Send it so somebody can get it, because we all want to get free, right? We don't just want to get this word and be selfish. We all want to be free from the things that the enemy has ensnared us into, right? And so on this morning, once again, take time out when we get off of here, 5-10 minutes, just sit there quietly and pray and just really hear the voice of the Lord. And so we certainly thank the Lord once again for you all tuning in and joining with me for the word. And I pray once again that the word has been a blessing to you. And so I'm going to say that you all have a happy Friday on today. Have a great, great, great weekend. And if it is the will of the Lord, we will see you all back here on Monday morning for plugging into the power that will only take place as the believers begin to rise up and pray. God bless you. Go forth on today and have a blessed day.